What is going on, people? It's Matt from Liquid Loans. In this one, I'm joined by an up-and-coming content creator. This guy is creating some great content on HEX PulseChain. He's streaming with lots of good people in the community. So I'm excited to bring him on, find out more about him, his content, his goals, and what he's going to do with his channel. So with no further ado, Mr. RHMax. What is going on, buddy?
It's going great. It's going great. Good to be on here. I've definitely had a couple folks from Liquid Loans on the show so far, and that's one of the projects that I'm really excited about this year coming. Like, it's one of those no-brainers for me. So appreciate the invite to come on the show.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, no, I like your channel. You've started streaming with a lot of cool people. You've had even Jesse from our team on there. I saw you with Jim Rat Crypto. You had Gunther on. And I also like the way that you're doing your long streams, but you're also repurposing your contents. You're cutting out some of the most important salient points and then putting those in short clips. How are you finding those are doing for you?
Oh, great. Yeah, I think, I mean, I kind of tell people meet at HEX meetups and stuff locally, and people ask, oh, how do you make content? I'm like, well, I just kind of went with the way that seems the easiest as far as the most bang for buck. I do live streams, and then I go through and I clip the content. Yeah, it kind of sucks creating thumbnails. Like, I don't think anyone likes to create hundreds of thumbnails, but whatever, I got pretty good at it. So I guess that's a good thing. But no, I think clipping is just something people really seem to respond well with. Nobody wants. I'll say nobody. I prefer long versions of stuff. I'll listen to stuff for hours, especially people I like. But I know a lot of people only got a few minutes in the morning. They want to, click on a clip, especially if it's something super interesting that they can just get a lot of meat out of in just a few minutes. So people seem to like it. So I always appreciate the good comments I get.
That's awesome, man. It's true. Like, different horses for different courses. And listen, I love a long stream when there's lots of like gold in there, but let's be honest, if you've got kids and you're busy and you're running out the door, maybe you've only got 5 minutes to check YouTube, right? So you see a 2 or 3 minute clip and it's got the most important information. If you're learning about HEX or PulseChain or any of these other, projects that are coming out. So I think it's good to have a mix of both, because like, I love Cabana's stream on a Friday, right? It's sometimes an hour, sometimes it's 4 hours. But again, it's not for everyone. So having those short clips, I think having that variation helps a lot. But what about you, man? How did you get into HEX, if you don't mind me asking?
I was going to say, and you don't have to stream every day. I know some people stream every day, and it's like, I don't know how they do it. They must love it. But if you do clips, you can just schedule them to come out. It looks like you're creating content while you sleep. So that's another perk of it. So
yeah, streaming every day is hard, right? Because it's not as easy as just sitting down and having a chat. Obviously, work goes into it, setup, preparation, what's not. And then sometimes I guess you're not on the top of your game every day too, right? So some people, life gets on top of you, you've got stuff going on. So I know what you mean. It can be quite hectic trying to stream it every single day. Yeah.
Sorry, you wanted to let me go into intro background?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out about how you got into HEX and how you got into crypto and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I always tell people how I got into Richard, but I'll start with crypto. Like, I think I was looking at my emails every once in a while. I'll type in like Bitcoin in Gmail and be like, where was the first time I ever sent myself a link about this or something? And I think it was like 2013 or so, 2014, that there was some article on Bruce Schneider's blog, I believe, about Bitcoin. And I see that when I sent the link, maybe I clicked on it, maybe I looked at it. I didn't do anything with it at the time. I don't even remember even coming across the article when I was trying to figure this stuff out. And then I think in 2016 is when I first got into Bitcoin. I was trying to figure out how to buy it. I'm like, how do I want to give people money. Like, how can I take money and get Bitcoin? Why is it so hard? I don't understand what I need to do to get this stuff. Is it just OTC? All these concepts were so new to me at the time. And I remember using a Circle. That's like the first provider I went to. That's okay. I can take my bank account and they'll give me Bitcoin. That's how I do it. That's how I do it with Circle. Circle, cool. So I was using Circle for maybe, 6 months to a year. And they sent me an email. They were like, hey, we go in a different direction, but you can use Coinbase. This company called Coinbase. They want to work with retail. We're going to do more commercial stuff or whatever. God, I got to sign up for another service. I got to figure out, do I trust these people? I got, another counterparty, another risk and stuff.
This is this is still 2016.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, I guess it would be maybe early 2017 at this point. Yeah. And I was like, I got to sign up with Coinbase. This company called Coinbase. All right, whatever. I signed up. And so that was like the fiat on ramp for me at that point. There was all these websites too. You could buy it with PayPal, and they were always super shady looking, but I don't know, maybe I still think a lot of people used them with their credit card and stuff too, but it was really hard to get a hold of crypto at the time. So I think late 2017 is when I came across Richard, and it was through a party. I had a friend at a party, and he's a big Monero guy, probably still to this day, I guess. I've yet to convert him. I don't know why, but I keep poking him every once in a while. Come over to the good side. I love Monero too, but I mean, we know where the mad gains are. And he was like, yeah, have you heard about Richard Hart? Have you ever watched any of Richard Hart streams? Richard Hart? No, I don't know. He's like, yeah. He basically just said he was shit talking Ethereum. And so I've worked in big tech for over a decade. And like I said, I know the technology side, a lot of the engineering stuff. And at the time, I had a limited understanding of crypto, but I seemed at the time, the stuff I'd read and learned about Ethereum, it was solid. Like, yeah, what's wrong with Ethereum? Like, why would he be, shit talking Ethereum? So of course I go watch a couple of his streams. I'm like, yeah, I still don't really know what the argument is. I think he's just a Bitcoin maxi. And then I got into his self-development stuff, and I started watching his videos. I just couldn't stop watching. Man, this guy is super smart. Like, this is good stuff. Like, I used to play poker a long time ago too, and do a little bit of gambling, not much, but all the stuff he talked about, poker and gambling and gaming. I never was big into games, thankfully, but all the stuff just really made sense. This is, I'm new to crypto. I'm kind of looking for a mentor in a passive way. Of course, I don't know Richard, but so I'm looking for somebody to follow in this way and to learn more about the industry. And I was sold at that point. I saw his big brain. I saw him, just like having interviews, 8-hour live streams in the dark, long hair, don't give a shit about anything, just says exactly what he's thinking. I loved it. And it just, it's super attractive content, and just everything made sense to me. So that was, 2017, late 2017, I would say. And then from there, I remember, first it was CFD token. A lot of people don't remember there was a CFD token from Richard that he wanted to do with a scientist named David something or other. And the website's still up if anyone wants to check it out. But it was this token about, it was trying to monetize computation in a specific way. And so Richard started talking about CFD token. He started doing interviews and things. I was like, okay, interesting. He's going to do a token. And then he just kind of stopped talking about that. And he would just say, oh, it's too hard. Okay. Oh, cool. Whatever. I'll still follow you. I wasn't following you for a token in the first place. I was following you because you're interesting. And then I heard about Bitcoin HEX. I was like, Bitcoin HEX. Okay. He's going to give it to Bitcoin holders. Cool. I might have some Bitcoins. I could get some free tokens from a guy I really, really like and follow. So that seemed interesting. And then, I feel like I think I've watched every single Richard stream ever. So I feel like I've earned the name RHMax, unless it's self-kid. But just understanding what he was doing with that, and just all the game theory and economics got behind it. And then it turned into just HEX. Oh, we're dropping Bitcoin. It's just HEX. We want our own brand. And then it became hex.win. And then I remember going to go.hex.win and, staking portal and stuff before he got the .com. That was a big deal back then. And I don't know, 2019 maybe or so, he got the .com. Like, oh my God, we got hex.com. That's amazing. So that was basically my journey with crypto, Richard. And up until this day, I guess it's been almost 5 years. I would say around 5 years. I've been, as I say on my Twitter, synthesizing wisdom from Sir Richard Hart.
Well, that's a lot of content, right? If you watched every single stream, I mean,
hundreds of hours.
Hundreds of hours.
Don't regret it. I'm someone who's very careful with my time, and I don't regret. I'll say the caveat. These days, there's a lot of fashion shows, a lot of watch talk. I'm like, maybe I won't tune in as much these days. But yeah, I would say for the first 4 years or so, I was every stream. I would watch it, download it, watch it, or listen to it when I'm driving, all that stuff. And you're always going to find nuggets. There's always usually, at least back then. Now it's a little more, outrage marketing, and I get it. I don't fall for that at all. I understand he's on a mission, but there's a little less gems than they used to be. But man, you go back and watch some of the streams even today, they live up well. So.
Yeah, I mean, whenever he has a new stream come out, it's definitely one for the car or for a workout. Because there'll be something in there, and you're right. I prefer the older streams. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really digging the Louis Vuitton fashion show. But
well, he's not in it for us, as he said. He's not in it for us. He's in it for the new guys, the new girls, the new people. He's not. We're already in. I remember him saying that one stream. You're already in. Somebody was doing the comment. They were like, "Oh, we liked you better before," and he's like, "You're already in. I'm not here for you anymore." And he was being a little facetious, but still, I get the point.
So, what do you think? Do you think this outrage marketing is working?
I mean, he was on Fox yesterday, so that seems to be working.
What did you think of his appearance? It was super short, but that's network television, right?
Yeah, no, it was good. Some people, I started on Twitter, and I just made a comment that somebody was saying that I think it was maybe Dixon Piper or somebody was saying that of course they asked him about the scam stuff and things, and didn't think that was fair. But I'm like, that's part of his history. I mean, you got to expect that, especially from mainstream media, especially from people who just Google you. They're not going to, I think a lot of hexagons have this shielded image of like, we need to only talk about the good stuff. And that's the only thing anyone should ever talk about. We should never expect people, anyone who brings up the, the history of the bumps along the road or the things that may be taken out of context. Oh, they're just hating. I'm like, no, they're just asking legitimate questions from his background. They're being fair. People want to know that. If you don't know, if you haven't been following Richard for a few years and you Google him, you're going to be like, whoa, there's some stuff here that I need clarification on, if you're being generous. So that's not a bad thing. That's something we need to get out of the way. So I think that's not going to go away anytime soon. He's going to be, it's Funding Jim. I had Funding Jim on the show recently. He said that I asked him some question. He's like, yeah, Richard will be a controversial person for years to come. I'm like, that's a great way to put it. He will be. These questions are going to come up, and we just need to have good answers for him. I think he killed it.
100%. I think you're right. I like that logical approach, because I think in any part of life, maybe even going back to your friend in Monero, right? Why is he still in Monero? We get locked into these echo chambers. And obviously, you must have heard of confirmation bias. We want to be confirmed what we think. And it's much easier, isn't it, to have people echo back to us what we think, rather than someone say, well, hang on, it's more nuanced than that. Yeah, you're right there, but there could be something that's not 100%. And of course, if you put yourself in their shoes, when you were jumping into new projects, did you jump feet first into crypto projects? A lot of the time you get rug pulled if you do that. So it's good to do the research. It's good to say, I was sued, but it was in a small claims court and it was for $500 and I didn't want to fly to Washington or whatever, right? And explain it properly, rather than say, no one can talk about that, because that's when it becomes a bit weird, right? When you're like, no, we can only talk about the good stuff. Life isn't like that. There's good and bad of everything. And it's good to be more open and honest, because I saw Trayvon, he did a breakdown on the Fox interview. And he said something quite funny. He said, all the stuff that Rich is blamed for, not only is he not doing it, but other people are doing it, right? So like the guy was like, we want to know, I think the guy, what's his name? Charles, the presenter.
Charles
was like,
Payne, I believe. Yeah,
Charles Payne. He's like, I guess we want to know is, if people are getting in, are you getting out? And then obviously Richard went, well, listen, look at the OA. No hex has ever been sold, but look at Vitalik, look at the Ethereum Foundation. And it's true, all the things that Richard's blamed for, not only is he not doing them, but the people doing the blaming, or the other people in the industry, are actually doing it. So we're living in this kind of parallel universe. But just going back to what you said, I definitely think it's good just to be like, hey, everyone's got a bit of a checkered past, or, maybe there's something we can talk about. And that's good, because when you actually look at all the on-chain data and what's not, and what he said on that interview, it's true. It holds up.
Yeah. And it's more useful not to just wish no one ever brought it up. It's not going away. No one's the $500 Seattle, the OA, all that stuff that people speculate and try to use as data and stuff. It's not going away. So instead of trying to wish it goes away and never want to talk about it, have good answers, have better answers, be able to explain it. Elevator pitch for why Richard's not a scammer. Just to have that in the back of your pocket, because people are going to ask about it. And I just wanted to talk on your mental models. Confirmation bias is something I notice. For example, when me and the wife are having a classic debate over something, I always suggest, like, when you Google, don't Google for the answer you want. Try to Google in the most unbiased way possible. Because if you Google, I don't know, are carrots good for dogs? If it's different than Googling like, will carrots kill my dog? Because you're gonna get a bunch of people writing about carrots, and I don't think it's a real thing, but like, you're gonna get a bunch of people who have been talking about carrots being bad for dogs, blah blah blah. What you want to see both sides. You want to see, is there any data about that? Is there any data for or against it? And then you decide based on what's in front of you, instead of trying to get confirmation for what you want. And that's people do that in every industry. You build a product. Oh, I think we should build a product because I like it. Well, now you're going to Google for all the products that you like in that way to try to get data to build in that portfolio to pitch the idea. No, if you want to, maybe you want to do that. You want to invert it. Say, tell me all the products like this that have failed. Let me look at all the failures for my idea, and then decide if I want to proceed. And if I want to proceed, I can learn from those lessons too. So confirmation bias. mental models. I study, I've been on a journey the last 2 or 3 years, wealth, wisdom, happiness type thing. And I've studied mental models, including confirmation bias and many, many others that Richard has brought up before too. Wrote a blog on it, on my blog, on some of the top mental models that he's discussed. And they help you make better decisions. I wanted to have better judgment. To have better judgment, you got to know how the world works. And they help you do that. So
when you say you're an RH maximalist, would you say not just in crypto, but in philosophy and life?
Definitely. I mean, I think when people, either see my name or hear about me or something, I would speculate that a lot of them could be turned off because they think Richard Hart maximalist, HEX maximalist or PulseChain maximalist, you're just only like the products. And, when the products do well or not do well, or there's a new shiny thing that comes along, he's just going to move away from it, blah, blah, blah. I could imagine that could be some of the, criticism or so. But I think I kind of want to turn the maximalism on its head a bit. I want to give it a better name that I think it doesn't need to have a negative connotation. I don't think of it, I guess the name of this is like Maxi mindset. I don't even think of myself as a Maxi in general. It's like, I just want to take my time and energy and put it into ideals and products where they'll be treated well. I like this community. I like the products Richard creates. I like his book, Sci-Vive. I like the ideals that he popularizes. So it's not even about, to me, it just makes sense to put my money where it's going to be treated correct. Gunther says it all the time, take your money where it's going to be treated the best. Of course, he does it for Pulse Dogecoin. I think he also probably alludes it to HEX as well. But, I want to take my money, time, and energy to a place where it's going to be treated well. And the Richard Hart ecosystem, liquid loans and a lot of other community projects, that seems like a good place to put it. Now, and you can see if if people watch my streams, I'm not like some cheerleader for Richard Hart. I criticize him too. It's something, people ask me questions, I'll criticize him just like anyone else. He's not a god. He's a human just like all of us. He's a really cool human and a really good guy and does a lot of cool stuff. And we want him to succeed. But, he's definitely said some things. I imagine that if he would have, been able to think a little bit more or had a different perspective at the time or changed his mind on, maybe he would have had a different answer too. So, I think his confidence, his swagger is over the roof. He'd probably never admit that, at least in public, but that's fine. When he wins, it's what I said the other day, trickle down winning. Like when he wins, like the people who are in the ecosystem, the people who are following him and his ideals and his products, they tend to win too. You can see HEX's chart the last couple of years, except the last 6 months. Forget about that. Look at any chart. It's coming back. Not financial advice, but it always comes back.
Yeah, just going back to what you said, I agree. I think it's very dangerous to deify someone. And of course, there's people in the world who are doing amazing things. One of them is Richard Hart, but it can be dangerous when, people literally think that person can do no wrong and say no wrong. So the fact that you have RHMax in your name, but actually your mindset is very open, very logical, very rational, and you're not, locked into this confirmation bias, which you can see if you watch your videos, from more than a few minutes, you can see that anyway. But it is good to hear the rationality on that. What would you say to people who don't vibe with Richard? Maybe they can't see through the bluster and the braggadocio stuff. How would you try to come at it from a different angle for them?
I've said it before too. Just if I hadn't found Richard in 2017 and I would, have found him in 2021 or 2022, would I have bought in? I don't know. He, like I said, I started following him and listening to him and reading his books for a very different reason than a lot of the content he puts out, as far as, like we said, fashion shows and stuff, and a lot of the Instagram and things. Again, all for a reason, and totally support it. The outrage marketing, I believe, is working. But having an engineering mindset, having I consider myself a first principles thinker. Funny enough, it's like, I think a lot of people see the Maxi title at odds with thinking, because they, it kind of does seem like the cultist type of thing. But I think that's just the bad connotation. I think it's a very neutral term. Yeah. So I forgot what the question was. What did you say to people who
obviously there's people that watch it and they're turned off straight away, and what they're doing is they're missing maybe a big opportunity, right, with HEX and Pulse and what's not. So how would you try and explain to them or try and show them old videos? What would be your way to get them on board?
I think that's the biggest thing. Even people today, like I talked about my friend who's into Monero, over time, I try not to wear it out, but every once in a while I'll be like, hey, Richard was on Fox yesterday. You still not buying? What's up, man? Like I've been been telling you for a while now. So I think so he knew Richard from before, so he's a little bit easier, but although he's still not in as far as I know. He might have sacked for Pulse, actually. I think he did sack for Pulse and PulseX. So, okay, I got that. That's a win, I think. Nice. But Hex, maybe not. I think the general consensus is just look at old videos, but people don't want to do that either. Nobody wants to do the research. They want to, and again, if you would have told me, hey, at 2021, Max doesn't know anything about Richard Hart. Oh, Max, go watch this guy's old videos and learn what he's about. Would I go do it? I would have to be extremely interested in what he's talking about and be the right time to, need to consume that content. So, man, what is the right answer there? How would you convince someone? I don't know. You could use charts. You could see how much it's went up and then look at how much it's went down and say opportunity, obviously. Old videos. I would say go watch the self-development thing. I think if you watch the playlist, it's like an hour. I try to watch it every year, at least once a year. I watch the self-development playlist. There's 2 of them on his channel. If you can get someone to sit down for an hour or so and watch those, and then let them watch any of his live streams, I think they'll listen to him a lot more closely. I think that's one of the keys. I think his self-dev stuff will impress you in a way like, hey, this guy's definitely not a scammer. He's definitely like someone who can help me be a better me. And hey, he also has this token. He's in crypto. If you like, see, the problem is a lot of people don't want to be rich. I've had this problem with talking to people too. Like, look, it's like I'll have like an hour conversation with another friend of mine about nonsense. I'm like, why did I even have this conversation? But at the end of it, I can see that, and he's even admitted to me, he doesn't want to be wealthy. He doesn't want to be rich. And that could be based on his background, that could be based on his environment and the other things he values. But I think people they either hate rich people, they think they like murder people to get money, which I'm not saying none of them did. I'm saying most of them obviously didn't. They created value for society. That's how you get wealthy in capitalist society, at least. Or they're really technical and they literally just care about the technology. And I have no problem with those people. If you don't want to be wealthy and you don't want to get better self-development, you don't want to be wise, and you think everything out there is a scam except the one thing that you saw that one time and you won't listen to anyone else, that's okay. You can live your life however you like. But I guess we're just never going to reach those people. So I think old videos, they watch the self-dev stuff, tell them to look at charts. And if they will take an hour and go watch his self-development stuff, I think they would listen a lot closely to what he has to say, even with the streams that are mostly trying to attract the other crowd, the product crowd and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out to me was the Kitco interview. You remember he did that this time, maybe August last year, maybe, or this time last year.
The Kitco guy, he's always fun. It's like,
and
always has that face.
Huh?
He always has that face. He's just like, he has all those like rage face, or not rage. How would you say that? He always has those thumbnail faces. I don't know how you say it, but he always cracks me up with those.
Yeah, so I saw him on there. Must have been about a year ago, and I was already in on then, but my brother wasn't in on Hex yet, and I showed him that interview, and my brother was like, "Where do I buy Hex?" Because Richard wasn't. I think he was dressed actually quite audacious, but he wasn't doing all the flashy stuff. He was just talking about Hex versus Bitcoin and how Hex is Bitcoin with improvements and what's not. So I think, going back maybe a year at least, and to some of those where he, he's very calm and methodical and talks things through. And listen, I met him in person last year at the second Hex anniversary, and he didn't seem at all like the person he is on Instagram. Let's put it that way.
He's
very
he's a
humble
marketing master. I mean, that's what you do.
Very happy to meet everyone. So
you put on the face that you want to sell, and that's fine. You're selling a good product. That's fine.
It is interesting. Going back to what you said before, why do you think people have that mindset? Is it limiting beliefs? They don't want to be rich? Because I see that a lot too, especially for middle class, right? They kind of have this weird thing. In one way, they want to be rich. Of course, everyone wants to have an abundance of money, but they hate rich people. And that doesn't work like that, does it? You kind of like push it. That weird energy is not going to get you near money.
Yeah, I think you brought up, you dove me straight into it. There's a nice to have attitude with people. Oh, it'd be nice to be rich. I mean, I think some people are literally telling, I actually know someone who I remember telling their kids like, say, oh, I want to grow up and be this, or I want to be rich, or I want to be like this person. Like, oh, Well, it's nice to dream. What are you doing? That's not inspiring. Like you're giving your kids limited beliefs like that. So like I would not practice that kind of parenting in that way. But yeah, it is people who are, it's a nice to have. So I've learned something again on my wisdom journey that I've been going through too, studying a lot of different sources and people. Richard Naval, Robbie Kant, another person.
Naval's great. I like his stuff.
Oh my God, amazing. It's a nice to have. So if you want something Naval talks about, you have to want it. Like you have to need it. It's not even want it. You have to need to be rich. You have to need to get financial freedom, which is what rich gets you, right? Like nobody cares about being on an island by yourself with $1 trillion. You can't do anything with it. That's not useful. It's what you can do with it. It's a means to an end. And people, they see Lambo and they see, $1 million watches, all this stuff. And that's fine if that attracts you in. And like, you kind of like that lifestyle. I want to be financially free. I never have to have a job. I never want to have a job. I want to work for myself and will continue to work for myself as well. And I want to make my own decisions, own my own time, and money does that. Money solves money problems. It won't solve, you got some kind of like, relationship problems, psychology, mental, physical health. Money can maybe help. It can smooth things over and it can also hurt in a lot of ways too, but money solves money problems. So if you don't want to work for the rest of your life, if you don't want to retire at 65 or 70, if you want to create generational wealth where your family can go down the path that is most profitable and your gene pool can continue to exist and you can keep like all this good stuff in the world that you like to do and the people around you like to do, if you want to continue that, you have to make a lot of money so you can tell the world, I'm done. I did my time. I produced my stuff. I created my value and I want to go live life on my own terms. And that's what it's for. And people you go back to your question. They don't need it. They want it. It'd be nice to have, but you have to need it. Like you can't, there's no other option. It is the 1, 2, it's fighting for the 1 or 2 spot in your entire life. Yes. Doesn't mean you have to give everything else up, but this is what you need to have. If you don't get it, you don't know what else to do.
100%. I mean, like you said, going back to what parents say to their kids, a lot of it's unconscious, right? And especially, they've shown that when kids, I think between 0 and 7, their minds are plastic, right? They're taking in all this, that they're building their models of the world. And unfortunately, a lot of people have their limiting beliefs and they project them onto their kids or their family members.
It's tragic.
And I think it was Patrick Bet-David. I heard him say this on one of his videos from Valuetainment. He was like, think money, and it's kind of a weird analogy, but I liked it. It's like, money's like a woman. It wants to be seduced, right? No woman is going to be seduced if you're like, I hate rich people. You know what I mean? Like they, screw them and stuff. And you're bitter because you haven't provided value. You haven't created a business or a product or whatever. But then obviously you're bitter because you want to be rich, but then you're pushing it away because you have this weird energy. So imagine if you wanted like this beautiful girl, but every time you saw her, you got angry with her because she wasn't with you. She's not going to want to, be running towards you in your direction, right?
True story for a lot of people.
So you're right. I think they're in this weird push-pull. It would be nice, but there's this weird energy about rich people being like, malevolent or whatever. And then obviously they believe they can't do it anyway. So yeah, I think when it becomes your identity, like I need this like I need air, right? I need this like I need water. Because who wants to get $1 billion or even $1 million or even $100,000 and keep it in the closet? You can't do anything with that, right? That's fire. That's like firewood. You want it so you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want. I think everyone watching this stream can resonate with that. And as Richard said,
humbling factor too.
Sorry?
Go ahead. I just said a humbling factor too. Everyone wants to appear like they're this, I'm humble. I don't want to be rich. Rich people, they're greasy, all this stuff. It's fine to project a certain amount of humbleness. That makes you more sociable, makes you fit a little better in society, gives you opportunities, networking, things like that. But be greedy with your wealth. I'll say that. Be greedy in a healthy way with your wealth. Don't be like, oh, I can't be rich because that'll make me a bad person, or I can't be rich because then I can't hang out with my friends anymore. There will be trade-offs. You're going to have to sacrifice things. It's not for free. Your life will change. As you're going to test many Hexagons who are going through the sudden wealth syndrome and stuff. But it's worth it. Like, isn't it? Like, again, if you would ask anyone in the world, if I gave you $1 million, would you take it? Yeah, they'd take it. But would they do what it takes to get it? Not many will.
It's true. All right. Like if you want to be, it's not hard to be mediocre, right? You just
Yeah.
do what everyone else does, and then you just work the 9 to 5 and probably pretty depressed, but you get on with it because what else is there? And the fact of the matter is, there's a whole world out there to see. And there's people that came from a worse social economic background than you, maybe had less parents than you, had a lot more trauma in their childhood, and still went on to become, you know, decamillionaires, billionaires, whatever. So
yeah.
Everything is a story in our head. And I'm sure you've been going down the rabbit hole in the last couple of years, right? In your self-development, it's all the stories we tell ourselves and our subconscious. And a lot of these people out the gate, they're telling themselves, oh, I could earn 50 grand a year, but you know, I couldn't earn 100, or I could earn 100, but I couldn't earn 1 million. Why not? There's someone who started in a worse position than you that's ahead of you. So I think a lot of it is, I spoke to Jake about this on a stream recently, about identity and taking that on. And then once you've got that, then you take action, because the way you think, you know, obviously determines where you feel. And then from there, what action you're going to take. A lot of people think, I want to be rich, or I want to be in great shape. And then they're like, yeah, but it's going to be a lot of effort and hard work, so I'm not going to do it. And it's like, okay, but so basically you cut yourself off right before you took any action. So of course you're not going to get there. What kind of stuff have you been researching? Because it sounds like you've been down the rabbit hole with all this, a whole mixture of stuff, right? Because you're an engineer, but you're also, you know, mindset and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Naval is one person I followed closely. I think I read the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I think I've listened to it / read it 5 times now. I mean, it's one of the best books I've ever seen. I think, I wanted to, I mean, crypto kind of inspired me to do it. That was one of the catalysts for me going down the journey of being a better version of myself. Looking back 2 or 3 years ago, there's nothing wrong with me in that way. It wasn't like I had this huge depression and I thought something has to change. It wasn't like that. It was just, I kind of already had the spirit of being a lifelong learner. So a lot of it came naturally. I just had to be motivated, and my motivation was pretty much, I mean, Richard, I didn't expect to even this be part of the story, but yeah, Richard was, when he came out with HEX, and you know, at first when he came out, I remember trading on Bidesk, and I was like, oh, it's going to get to maybe 2 sats, and it was like, oh, it's got to trade an Ethereum pair now because it's under 1 sat. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work out or not. I don't know if Richard's token is going to do anything. And then we saw that, you know, shortly after, many ups and downs, but it did pretty well. At that point, I understood that I'm pretty sure I'm going to be rich one day. Like, if I play this correctly, I'm going to have my financial freedom. I'm going to be able to buy my way into a better life. And at that point I said, man, I don't know much about finance. I don't know much about how to, like, you know, I always think about those lottery winners, you know, they always lose all the money. You know, what is it, like some huge percentage lose all the money, or
more often than not, they lose it and they say, I wish I never had it.
Yeah. Totally worse lives than they had before the money. Like, that's the point. Like, totally worse lives. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that becomes wealthy and makes the absolute most of my potential. And I want to crush it. And I can't do that if I don't have the knowledge. I need to, like, understand how the world works in a better way. Mental models is what I study a lot for that part. And I need to understand finance. I need to understand more about crypto too. I come from the technology side and computers and things like that, but I really need to understand the parallels of crypto and how smart contracts work and stuff. And I need to understand, like, how to be effective. Like, really, I always prided myself on being effective, you know, at work, and just really digging down at the first principles, getting at the top layer or the bottom layer and saying, okay, how do I build something better? But now, you know, when I got on the journey, I was like, I want to make sure when I get this money, not if, I'm going to make this wealth, and my family's going to be secure for a very long time. I want to make sure we never lose it. I want to make sure that I don't screw it up, because that would be the biggest shame I could ever feel, is screwing up. Well, one of the biggest shames. I'm sure there's other ones, but for my personal achievements, that would be one of the biggest shames I would never want to feel, is having it and then losing it. You know, they say it's a lot easier to get the money, but it's a lot harder to hang on to it. I don't want to be that cautionary tale. I don't want to be that textbook example of, like, oh, I made $10 billion with HEX, but now I didn't put it in all these different financial instruments, and, you know, I took too many risks with it and leverage and all this stuff. I want to make sure I'm able to have good judgment with the wealth. And that's what motivated me to get into it. And that's the crazy thing about the story. not just doing the crypto, Richard's new crypto motivated me to become much wiser, happier, healthier, like learn all these traits. And, we talk about the other sources I use for that as well. But I think it's important that it was like I don't know what's the analogy here. It's like a two-edged sword. Like I went in to get better at wealth management, for example, and I ended up becoming a much more just deeper soul of a person, like just understanding perspectives of people a lot better and wiser, for lack of a better term. Like I just became a much better person out of it. So that's like my testimonial for Hex and Richard Hart maximalism. It's like I went into it for the mad gains, and I came out like a much more competent person in general. And that's just been incredible for me. I didn't even expect that, but he got me there in a lot of ways.
You went in for the Lambo, but came out enlightened by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I like that. I need that meme. Went in for the Lambo, came out, and it's got like the Buddha enlightenment type of thing.
Yeah, just levitating in the lotus position. But it's so true, man. Like what you said, like just listening to you talk, and I've heard you on your channel, but you can tell you're in the minority because you're a lifelong learner, right? And most people, they come out of high school and they go to college or university or whatever, and then
tell me what to do now. I don't know.
Tell me what to do now. Where do I sit? Where do I stand? Get the house, get the wife, get the kids, get the mortgage, get the promotion, get the holiday home, get the disease, and get the hell out, right? And that's, a lot of people do that. And listen, I'm not judging anyone. If that's for you, fantastic. But it was never for me. Even as a kid, right? I could feel like, hang on, there's a whole world out there. There's more to see. And when I first came across the internet, I couldn't believe it, man. I could just hit Google and like just learn all these facts about stuff. I remember when I was a kid, like as a teenager, just learning stuff that wasn't even useful, right? Like, oh my God, all these countries speak Spanish, and I'd be listing them out just because I could go to Google and type in how many countries speak Spanish, how many countries speak Chinese. And it was just like, I just like learning. I love learning. I love reading. I like learning new things. And, knowledge is power, right? And I think that you know this already. You've been doing this, and even just getting into crypto has opened up so much for you, but you never know it all. The more, who was it, Aristotle, right? The more I know, the less, the more I learn or whatever. Or the only thing I know is that I know nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so true, because the more I learn, every time I learn something, I'm like, it just shows, I thought I kind of had a grip on whatever, this and that. And I learned something new. I'm like, I know nothing, man. I'm just a tiny speck of dust on this dirt bowl. And there's a whole, universe out there. And it's just mind blowing when you start learning. And I just think it's so sad when you see people who are just like locked in there from 21 and that's it. And, they've got their worldview and their model of the world, and they know how things work apparently. And then they're not open. You try and tell them about Hex or about crypto. And it's not even like, I never do the hard sell on anyone. So I'm like, hey, look into this. If you're interested, then I can sit down with you. And if you want to learn more, but people know I trust banks and I trust what's not. So it is sad, but then I guess
that's I trust banks.
That's what groupthink is called, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what first principles thinking is all about. If anyone wants to not just go by what's popular or what everyone else is doing, if you think about it, it's logically, it makes sense. If you do what everyone else is doing, everyone else isn't rich. So why would you get rich doing what everyone else is doing? And you can do it in an ethical way. Like, you don't have to scam anyone. Like, that's the definition of like, so if you create value for society, you will be rewarded. That's how it works generally in the world. I mean, some people get screwed over. That sucks. It happens. Life's not fair. But in general, you create value. Society gives you money, or they give you status. They give you whatever. If you scam people, you're cheating the system, and you're not cheating it in like, haha, I hacked the system in a good way. That's not the good cheating. It's hey, you didn't give anyone value, so you don't deserve to be anything back. And anything you do get back, you're just taking from other people. You're not giving anyone a fair deal. So I think that's what, just riffing on your point of like, people, I trust banks and I don't want to get into it for whatever reason. I think a lot of people believe that it's just, you have to, every crypto you buy is going to be this pumping up thing, and they don't know when to get in, they don't know when to get out. And with Hex, you don't have to do any of that shit. You don't have to trade. You buy it, you lock it up, and price seems to go up. Like, that's it. You don't have to do anything. Very, very little interaction. Go live your life. Go, like, I don't know. I can't imagine a worse life than like stuck at a computer screen just like trying to take someone else's money all day. Like as Richard says, you're just staying there. The poor bastard on the other side, again, like always phrasing him, he's trying to take your money, you're trying to take his, and it's like, why do you do any of that?
And the exchange doesn't care.
Yeah, and the exchange is like, yeah, do it. Like they're
chopped up.
They care in a very bad way, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get your point. But yeah, that's the thing is like you create value for society, gives it back. Richard, Elon, all these people who are rumored to be billionaires, they create a lot of value for society. Richest man in the world, Elon Musk, richest man in the world, totally deserved every single penny. He made Teslas. He made SpaceX. He made, the boring company. Let's not talk about that. That needs to come back. It was a really cool idea. I need some tunnels in LA because traffic sucks there. But like he creates value in society. He deserves all that money. And that's where people get the socialism. Oh, we need to make sure everyone's taken care of. It doesn't mean just because. So when you have the principles to stick with this kind of system where you see the most value in history has ever been created, and then you see there's homeless people and stuff. Yeah, you feel bad about it. You don't want that to happen. Nobody wants that shit to happen. Nobody likes to see that, especially the people in San Francisco looking at, people shitting on the streets all the time. Nobody wants that. But at the same time, they don't want the alternative. It's the least, I would describe it, I think it's a common phrase, the least worst system. There's no perfect system, but you got to stick by your principles. You got to stick by I'm gonna go back to what I was trying to say. First principles thinking. You don't look at what everyone else is doing. The example is if you Google for first principles thinking, the example is Elon Musk with rockets. He was doing research before when he's doing SpaceX, and the story is something like everyone's like, oh, it's way too expensive. You can't lower the cost. It's a bad idea. It's just a huge money pit. Blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, what are rockets made of? You're made of like a few different materials, things. Okay, can we source those materials from places where they're not crazy expensive? Okay, we can source materials. Wow, we just cut the rocket down to like almost nothing, like what it used to be. And now we can build a company to create the technology we want to create. If he would have listened to everyone else and just listened to conventional wisdom and been like, oh, rockets are too expensive, SpaceX wouldn't have happened. Yeah. Nobody's going to Mars, man. Nobody's going to Mars. And now they probably are going to Mars probably someday. But we got a chance. Anyways, first principles thinking. It's good stuff.
Yeah, you have to. You can't listen to other people because everyone, kind of like what we're going back to talking about earlier in the conversation, people will project their own limiting beliefs onto you, or they'll just tell you you can't do that, not because they've ever tried, but because they've heard from the tribe, right? Oh, you can't do that. Rockets are too expensive, or electric cars. No one builds electric cars in the US. You know what I mean? So you have to be questioning it and touching on what you were just saying about, there's no perfect model. Yeah, you're right. Capitalism isn't perfect, but come on, if you look back as far as as humans have been, we traded. We did. People who are more valuable in the tribe obviously ascended up the hierarchy faster. That's how it's always worked. So let's take a real easy example. You have someone who's a criminal, right? They've done. You want society to be equal. You want socialism. We have someone on this side. He's been committing crimes against children, and then we have a doctor who's saving children's lives. You're telling me these people are exactly equal? They're both doing the same in society? Obviously not, right? Yeah. Obviously not. One is much more valuable. One's hurting or killing maybe children. One's saving their lives. So people need to get this idea out their minds, in my opinion, that, kumbaya, my lord, we all have the same and we're skipping through fields and it's wonderful. We've tried that in Russia and China. It didn't work out. So obviously, if you provide value and you bring a lot of, you help people's lives through products and services, then you should be rewarded for it. And like Elon and like Richard have done. Talking about value, PulseChain is nearly a year since the sacrifice phase went down. What do you think? When you think about obviously speculation, but launch date, what's going on behind the scenes in your opinion?
Well, we sure hope it launches by PulseCon, don't we? That would be embarrassing.
Do you think we will?
Man, I hope so. I don't. So after I speculated before, it would be. I speculated the launch would be announced in April, and we'd launch in May. That was way before Richard said anything about the mid-May stuff, the mid-May gate. And
guys, it's confirmed we're still on for mid-May. Everyone lost their mind. Like, okay, it's on.
I guess I'm glad that he said we weren't. I don't know what would happen if we was quiet about it, that would be awkward too. But anyways, that didn't happen. So I speculated before, and that didn't work out. I don't think I'm alone, but yeah, that didn't work out. And man, it seems like the problems he was talking about, again, I was talking about engineering mindset. He talked about having to rewrite some of the code. I hope he wasn't embellishing it too much around the, we already figured all this stuff out, we just got to do it part. I hope it was, they had already been working on it for a little bit, and to rewrite parts of the code like that, we have pretty cool. I mean, from all I've seen and heard and looking at the test net stuff, I think we have a pretty competent dev team working on PulseChain. I have no interaction with him at all, but just knowing what Richard's got up his sleeve and knowing how he is in it for glory and he does not want to fail. And he mentioned on the stream the other day, that's why it got delayed too, because there's no chance he's going to not have 99% uptime or whatever whatever great number you could put on this. It's like HEX, you can say 100% uptime because it's a smart contract, but when you have staking nodes, there's going to be AWS has like 99% uptime. So anyways, take that for what you will. But man, I don't think it's going to take that long, honestly. And if they've already been working on it for a couple months, launching by PulseCon, wouldn't that be beautiful? Like, wouldn't that be the best gift we could get this year? I don't even care about the bear market right now. Yeah, like the week before or so, or I don't think he's going to announce it at PulseCon because why would that happen? It's not like he's running PulseCon or anything either. But it's I don't know. It would be nice to see it a week or two before PulseCon, and that would be late August, early September. That would be nice. I have no idea, but that would certainly be like lift some spirits in the community people who are down, over leveraged. I'm not over leveraged. I'm doing fine. I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm not sad. If it launches in January, I don't care. I'd be like, oh, it kind of sucks. Gotta wait like 6 more months, but whatever. It's cool with me. But I know a lot of people were, they're hurting out there. Maybe they made some bets. They thought they were going to get some liquidity sooner than they thought. And they put a lot of money into it, thinking that this thing's coming and it's going to be huge and it's going to rip everyone's face off and it's going to come less than 1 year. And so I feel for them, but I don't know. Get your mind off of it. Buildle, the last bear market's rallying call was buildle. Go like produce some content. I mean, that's one thing I think that's helping me get my mind off of it too. And the fact that I'm not over leveraged, just creating content. I started in a bear market. RHMax channel started in a bear market. So I think I'm hoping before PulseCon, because wouldn't it be fun to go to PulseCon and celebrate with people with a product that's launched? That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
It would. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, hopefully for PulseCon's sake, because it will be weird. Not weird, but it obviously, it's not ideal.
Harsh memes. Other communities are they're gonna talk some trash. I'm pretty sure. Oh, hey, they're gonna take some pictures. Somebody posted at PulseCon, like, hey, look, hey, where's the vaporware? Where's the product?
Yeah,
I can see it now. But whatever.
So do you think that obviously code needs to be rewritten, right, for the validator nodes and for better throughput? But obviously he's kind of like, I'm not going to push it too hard because obviously we're in a bear market anyway. So, we have time. Well, like you said, it's better to wait in a bear market than a bull market.
I think some of the problems were, I thought he said the other day about some bug or bugs they had found that weren't super serious, but they could affect uptime. Oh, yeah. From my understanding, that was the biggest thing that caused the delay. So it just doesn't seem that, I don't know. I'm just my mind is like, trying to think about the code, the different parts of the code they're rewriting. But I don't think with a dev team, if you got 10 or more people in a dev team and they're good devs and they've been producing products and they got everything else finished and it all looks beautiful, and then you have this part of the system that needs needs to be rewritten to fix some bugs, that don't sound like it takes a long time to me. So we'll see. Documentary though, that's what I'm hoping comes out this year. I think that thing changes everything for the perspective of people looking at Richard Hart. So that's something I hope launches. I want to say I hope it launches more than I hope PulseChain launches, but I certainly hope that launches this year because I think that's going to be a huge catalyst for the community.
The only issue I think with the documentaries, and this is just my opinion, is how can they finish now? Because it's the reverse of a good story. They started at 40 or 50 cents. and the documentary would
Mm.
finish with HEX at 3 cents and PulseChain not launched, right? A story should start in somewhere, have some ups and downs, and end on a high. So that's, you know,
well, if I was a storyteller, I think I would definitely, I would put it in the direction of, you know, maybe at least towards the last 30 minutes, be like, PulseChain's coming out, or it's going to be out shortly, and maybe not talk about the HEX price as much. And I don't know. I don't imagine the documentary is going to focus on the last 6 months to a year of the HEX price. I think they're going to tell it in a way that is generous and it is fair. I mean, you don't need to, the way Richard talks about things, you don't need to constantly bring out the bad things about the product. Let people, I mean, if you're trying to, it's about marketing. Okay. You can do ethical marketing. You don't have to hide and obfuscate and like scam people. Like you can just tell the story, tell the narrative in a way that you think is most effective to get the point through. The action to take is go buy HEX, go look into Richard Hart, go, you know, keep up with PulseChain, blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure the professional storytellers can stay away from HEX murdered 90% or whatever recently, because that's, you know, they can go look at the chart and see for themselves. But again, you zoom out, click log, you're going to see the bigger story, the bigger picture anyway. So, and if they do go look it up, they're going to look at everything else and see it's down too. So it's not like it's going to have that huge, but I mean, it's a good point, what you brought up. I just don't think it's going to be a problem for them to make it, make the story any less effective with even the bear market going on.
Yeah, no, that's just my only issue. Of course, listen, I want it to do well. It's beautifully shot. You know, it's going to be great. Looking at some of the footage and the frames, but obviously with, you know, how much we all want it to succeed. Can you imagine if it ended on PulseChain launches and does something crazy, you know, like 100x or something in 3 months, and then, you know, HEX price hits all-time highs? It would just be the perfect kind of hero's journey. But yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to put myself in the seat of an audience too, not having, if I didn't know anything about Richard or any of the products and I watched that, and then maybe I clicked on it and then I saw all the good news about PulseChain and HEX, would that make it even better? Honestly, like I'm trying to think, it would, you know, you're kind of like what do you call it? Like underselling it in a way. Like, oh, I watched the documentary, it was interesting. Oh my God, why didn't I buy HEX earlier? Because, you know, now it's way up, that kind of thing. One thing I do feel sorry for people is they got onboarded at 50 cents. That's got to be rough. That's the people right now. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry for, like, this sucks for you all right now. You're going to have to wait a while, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when do you think, there's talk of, you know, maybe the bottom going to be around September, maybe? What do you think the bottom's going to be for Bitcoin? Do you think we're going to do an 11K like Richard says?
Well, interestingly enough, I was kind of on Team Richard on that for a while until I had Orca on the show the other day, and he was like, 3 or 4K is even possible. And I'm like, you know what?
Wow.
Maybe, because, and then nobody expected HEX to go down 95%. And, you know, Richard's call 85% is 11K. Bitcoin goes down 95%. That sounds like about 3 or 4K to me, 5K maybe. When's the bottom happening though? I think we're closer to half max pain. We may be at half max pain right now. We need some more companies. Unfortunately, I don't say this like I want it to happen, but it's just a natural part of the process. Some more companies are going to have to fail, I think, before it would convince me that we're at to like near max pain. You know, we had Celsius, we had Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. No offense, Bitcoin, but you have an amazing meme. I think we're going to have to see some more stuff come out. And then regulations could be interesting too. Is that going to, it would be funny if regulations started a new bull market, wouldn't it? Like we bottomed around the same time that if some stuff came out in the US or UK or wherever, if it came out around the same time and, you know, everything was at the local lows or near the bottom, and then consumers got confidence back, retail got confidence back, institutions saw, you know, all their indicators were like buy. If all that happened at the same time, I could see it. I could see that happening as well too. This year, September, I don't know. I think we had a lot of action happen pretty quickly. It still seems like there's one, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one big domino yet to fall. And then I'll be like, whoa, all right, I think we're really hurting now. I think crypto might go up from here, but I haven't seen it yet. We might be halfway though.
Time will tell. Time will tell. Well, listen, man, this has been great having you on to hear about your mindset, your first principle thinking. I like to do a quick 8-5 questions with my guests before they leave. So if you're up for it,
cool.
8 questions. Give me 1 word or 1 sentence. That's the most you can give me. Before you go. So let's get into it. Number 1, best piece of advice you were ever given.
I can't think of anything, but don't give up.
A good one. Favorite food?
Ooh. Burgers, American burgers.
First ever crypto bought?
Bitcoin.
Biggest celebrity teenage crush?
I may have to go with what's her name? Crushed so hard I forgot her name. What's her name? All right, I'll just go with Scarlett Johansson for now. But there's a couple others that were pretty good.
She was good. Number 1 piece of advice for no coiners?
Good luck.
One thing you haven't done yet but must do, something on the bucket list.
Well, financial freedom.
Worst investment you ever made?
Ooh. Well, right now it's on my one wheel because I barely ride it, and it's so awesome, but I just have no time to ride my one wheel right now. So it's like an electronic skateboard for those not familiar. It's awesome, but it's just been sitting in the garage. So
very cool. They're really cool.
Yeah.
And last but not least, advice to your younger self.
I can't say come across Richard earlier because he really wasn't public that early. I don't know. I don't live a life where I have any regrets. So like if I would give myself advice, that would mean there's something that's missing and I would change, and I really wouldn't change anything for better or for worse. So
the path got you to where you are.
I would let it go the way it goes.
Awesome, man. Listen, tell the people where they can find you because you've got some great content out there, and let's get you some new subscribers.
I've got Jexer coming on tomorrow, I believe.
Very
too.
clever guy.
So I don't think I've had any more from any other community project than Liquid Loans so far. So you can tell how much I like you all.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. RHMax, just the way it sounds, on Twitter, and RHMax channel on YouTube. Appreciate it if you come look at my content. I try to make good stuff. I try to grind, but grind very efficiently, as we talked about in the beginning. So yeah, I appreciate it, Matt. It's great to meet you. You know, I've seen you around, and of course know about the project for a long time. And you guys are killing it. Can't wait for testnet, and can't wait for everything happening this year. Are you coming to PulseCon, by the way?
It's up in the air at the moment. I'm not sure, but I'd love to be there. But yeah,
we'll have a pint.
Like you said, if we had a PulseChain live PulseChain before then, that would be nuts. Not party in Vegas.
So you're saying if PulseChain launches, you will come to PulseCon?
You want to get me on record? We'll see. We'll see nearer the date.
We'll
I'd love to.
Cool.
But,
well, if you do, I hope to meet you there. It'd be great. Hang out.
Sure, buddy. For sure. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. Stay in touch, and you'll have to come back on the channel soon because I've really enjoyed this chat. And you definitely don't live up to your name as a Maxi, because a lot of Maxis get a bad rap on Twitter, but you're definitely the opposite of that. Open-minded, rational, and
neutral term. I'm trying to remove the cult from the Maxi label. I'm a neutral first principles thinker, Maxi. So hopefully I'm doing something good for the name. I hope so.
Definitely. I love it, man. Thanks, buddy. Take care, and we'll speak again soon.
Of course. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
RHMax, what a guy. The mindset, the first principle thinking. Guys, if you like content like this, do hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop new content and videos on the channel. You can also tap the like button, share the video with someone who you think it may benefit. And if you're feeling very kind and you're watching the playback, drop a cheeky comment below for the algo. It does help us out. Hope you're having a great Thursday wherever you are in the world. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.